Today on What Went Wrong, we talk about how not to get the kicked out of you. Hi, I'm Brett Mauser, and I've shot over 40 feature films. And for the first 15 years of my filmmaking, the cops showed up on my set every damn time. But that was because we were running around the neighborhood, the apartment complex with guns, setting off firecrackers, firing guns, setting off smoke bombs. They had every right to show up. I'm glad that they did.
Bunch of criminals creating mischief.
There were
and filming it.
No, every time. Now, in later years, Brad became my point man. If the cop showed up, Brad would be the one that handles it.
Yeah.
Because he was very good at it.
Yeah.
I wasn't bad at it necessarily. In Return to Innocence, Ty handled the police. It was his town. He handled the police. But I remember one of the very first times was Trey is running around the apartment complex with a gun, jumping in a car. We had some firecrackers go off, and we go up into the third-story apartment where my buddies were living at the time. And I come out after some of the actors leave. It's about 10, 15 minutes later. I come out and there's cop cars.
Nope.
And I've got my bag full of props that holds the guns and everything. And I'm like, oh, I know what this is. Okay, I'm going to go down and explain. And I go down and I explain it to them. I said, hi, sir, you're probably here because of us. And I explained to them, I said, well, we're shooting a movie, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, he was like, well, it was the guns. I said, yeah, there was a gun. It's a prop little BB gun. Mm-hmm. Would you like to see it, sir? And he's like, yeah, we would. So, I put the bag down on the ground. And I start unzipping it, and I just glance up. And I see, click.
Yeah.
I see him get that guard ready, and I stop, and I back away, and I say, sir, would you like to open the bag? And he did, and it was like 3 or 4 officers, and he opens it up, looks through it, finds the Daisy BB gun,
yeah,
comes up and chuckles, and he says, there's more robberies take place with this gun than any real gun. And, we had a little chuckle over it and talked a little bit. They had some questions about filmmaking, and had a little chat. I said, well, thank you. And they put this stuff away, and they left.
Yeah.
Now, it's a different world. After 9/11, and firearms and all the shootings and everything.
Right.
Probably wouldn't have gone down exactly the same way, but...
I would imagine it wouldn't be that much different.
It wouldn't be that much different.
Yeah.
I may have had to, walk away with a fine or something. Maybe not even then.
I don't even think so.
But nowadays, I will, even if we're not shooting, if there's a gun in public, I call the sheriff's office or I call the dispatch of the police and let them know what is happening. Even if there's a fight, on the project we did that. There was like a sword fight. I call and let them know because we're in a dark alley. People swinging swords around, whatever. You never know. And actors can be stupid.
No.
Yeah. So, a cop shows up and somebody's got a fake gun or, a sword and they make the wrong move and they get themselves shot. I'm not going to say bad officer. My actor is the dumb one that aimed a gun at a cop.
Yeah.
And prime example is in A Dog's Life. I felt sorry for both of them. When there was a scene in Dog's Life where DeMarcus, who plays Ruby, has to shoot a cop. And we actually brought in real police officers. We were able to pay a little bit so that they could protect the scene and everything was kosher. And we had real cop cars.
Right.
And there's the scene where Ruby pulls the gun. And I felt sorry. And I only did it twice. I only got that shot twice because the officer, just out of instinct alone, kept on having to flinch. And it wasn't because I was worried about him shooting DeMarcus. Right. I knew he wasn't going to shoot DeMarcus. Right. But I didn't want to dull that officer's reflexes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because if he left, if we did 10, 15 takes of that, and his reflex had been dulled, then he could have left our set, gone down, found himself in an armed robbery situation, and somebody pulls a gun on him and his reflex is dulled, he could have got himself shot.
It's possible.
So I was keeping that in mind.
Yeah.
when
Very thoughtful of you, yes.
Nowadays, always let the officer know what you're doing. Call the police station, call the dispatch, find out who you need to talk to.
Yeah.
Sometimes they will just send out barricades and set it up for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll offer you, hey, we can get you some officers for $20-$30 an hour, something like that. We were able to do that on the Benders. We had full automatic blank firing pistols. We're having a shootout in downtown Corpus. We paid, I think, $30 an hour or something like that for officers to come down, block the streets, and be there. So if another officer was driving down the road and saw us out there spraying with automatic fire, there's other officers there to go, whoa, everything's good.
Easy, Bill. Oh, hey, Jim. Yeah. What's going on? Oh, actors.
If you're on a set, and you've got, and you're running around with guns or whatever, and the police show up, don't get defensive or offensive. They're doing their job. Mm-hmm. You're running around, whether it's fake, whether you're doing a fake rape scene, which somebody did in Corpus Christi and didn't tell anybody. Whether you're having a sword fight, whether you're having just a fist fight out in public, or in a private place with big windows that somebody driving by can see. For the love of God, call and let people know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get any sympathy from me when the SWAT team shows up and blows away your cast and crew.
Right.
I'm sorry. You've got people running around with automatic weapons. Bad things can happen.
It's one of those things that we talked about, that is talked about how the police are, especially nowadays, everyone's down on the cops. There's all sorts of stuff. But you understand the nature of the police is to keep the peace, to protect the general public. And they're going to do that. It doesn't cost you anything. Or I should say that. It costs you very little to call. Just give them a phone call, your local constabulary, and say, hey, my name is Bob. I'm going to be shooting a film with 4 or 5 people, and we're going to have prop weapons doing stuff. We have little firecracker things, blanks or whatever else, and just assure them, look, we're trained in this. We know what we're doing, but we just want to let you know what we're doing, because if you behave as a professional, you will be treated as a professional. I've discovered from the police. And there are times when they're like, there's certain situations, certain places, not a whole lot's going on. It's like Tuesday afternoon, ain't crap happening, And they're like, well, we can have some police down there, $30 an hour. $30 an hour to have a cop down there, that's like, yeah. Here's, and once again, depends on your budget. I mean, we've been so poor, we're getting $30.
I didn't spend that on the movie.
Typically, I say it's a lot better to ask forgiveness than ask permission. I've been doing that my whole life. Not in this.
Not when it comes to armed.
Not when it comes to this situation. Yeah, not dealing with the police, because I have discovered and I have found that if you are upfront and honest with the local whatever. And just tell them, look, we're doing this other thing, because they get it. A bunch of kids out doing, and they don't need to. It's not necessarily that you're making a big budget film or not budget film, and you could be a student film. It's like, yeah, we're a bunch of kids making a film for whatever reason. They're like, oh, okay, they get it. They've been where you are. They're not just police officers. They also have been, audiovisual geeks and in the acting debate squad. They get it. It says, yeah, we're here doing this thing. Here's what's going on. In case you guys hear that the bunch of, whack jobs are doing stuff, it may be us. So and they're going to go, oh, okay. And they'll write it down, and they'll, in the morning briefing, hey, there's a bunch of kids out on 5th Street. They're going to be running around with some stuff. Bob's going to go down there and check it, but that's going to be going on. So if you get people any calls, that might be what it is. It's just it eases the tension. Because when these guys show up, if they get a phone call, or if they show up, they're like, oh, these are these guys. It automatically ratchets the tension. It ratchets everything down. It brings everything down to a much calmer level, which is what you really want.
Yeah.
That's all. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. And no, make sure the actors know not to aim the guns at the police, anything like that, because that's, because you're not going to get sympathy from them.
No.
I mean, when you and I went to Vegas and we went through that forced, I can't remember what they were.
Force exercise.
Yeah, force exercise, where they put you in those scenarios where you don't know, what's going to happen. Is that guy pulling a gun? Oh my God, they do have a gun, and
you got to react.
You got to react immediately. So, every situation is going to be viewed differently. So just don't tempt fate. Mm-mm. There's just no reason to tempt fate. When you have it all within your power to be safe, to do it the right way.
The fix is so easy.
Yeah. Now we had felt the wrong side of that in Return to Innocence. We had shot in the graveyard. This was the graveyard, mm-hmm. and your character was hallucinating and seeing all the people that he had killed.
Right.
So that we had them in zombie makeup and everything. And this graveyard, it wasn't like downtown San Antonio.
No.
This was up in the mountains.
Up in the mountains.
A town of like 200 people. It was Ty's town. It was the Ty that the town grew up in. It was the town that Ty grew up in. He knew everybody. He knew the mayor and everything. So we were like, okay, and somebody fired a shotgun.
We tested the shotgun.
We tested this, as all it was. We tested the shotgun, and we had already gotten some footage. So I had to go back into town because we were shooting on film. So we spent our 3 minutes, and when you're reloading the camera, it has to be complete darkness because otherwise it'll expose the film when you've lost the reel. So we had to go back to town. So you, me, and Ty go back to town, I think it was, to change it. Leave everybody else at the graveyard. And we come back, and there's cops everywhere. And we're like, oh my God,
what did they do?
Well, apparently, we thought there was nobody around. It was
there's no one out there.
Yeah. Well, there was a dude that lived next to the graveyard that we didn't know.
In a house we couldn't see because it was over the back of a hill 500 yards away.
He looks out his window after he hears a gunshot, and he sees zombies wandering around the graveyard. So he comes out and defends himself. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, but a couple other shots were fired. Police showed up, and we wound up getting kicked out of the town. And that was a stressful time for me. I was freaking out. I thought we were all going to jail because Ty had come up to me. He said, well, "Someone's going to jail tonight." Oh God!
Shut up, Ty.
So
remember that? I was like, "No one's going to Ty. You go to jail. You're the idiot that said that. You go to jail. No one's going to jail."
So I wandered around the town as Ty was trying to figure everything out. Wound up getting kicked out, and we drove to the next town down back towards Denver and sat at a sports bar and grill and figured out what the hell we were going to do.
It was actually a non-event.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, it was
absolutely
it didn't matter. We got what we needed out of it.
But at the time, when
yeah, you and Ty, well, you need to take Ty, put a gag in his mouth, and sit him in the corner. Don't let him talk to anybody. We love you, Ty, but shut up.
So I don't care what your political stance is, what you feel, what you believe, about police, whether you want to fund them or anything like this.
Whatever.
But, fine, you have that opinion. But when you're on a movie set and it is your responsibility to keep everybody safe, and that includes treating law enforcement with respect when they show up. And don't get up in their face. It's, what are you doing on my set? We have every right to be here, blah, blah, blah. They're there to check and make sure that everything is okay.
Yeah.
Don't get an attitude and because if something does happen and one of your actors does do something stupid and gets themselves shot,
you're responsible.
You're responsible. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Legally, you are responsible for what happens. And if anyone's going to jail, it's you.
Yeah. So play by the rules, because when you're making a film, you're a business. Mm-hmm. You're doing something professionally. Be professional. Treat other professionals professionally, and give them the respect they deserve, and give them the knowledge and awareness of what is going on by giving them the advance notice of what you're doing.
It is so easy to do. Easy fix.
Hi, I'm Brett Mauser, and I wrote the book on how to make a movie with no money. And here it is.
Yeah, see, it's got pictures and everything. So head on over to our website, notsosane.com, and get your digital or paperback copy today.